All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Leading with Data, 3 Ways Data Impacts Your Team's Performance. Thank you for joining us today. I am Casey Ciniello, and I will be your host. And we are super excited to dive into some of our groundbreaking insights from the Digital Work Trends report that we ran internally and discuss how data is reshaping the modern workforce. Today, we are also privileged to have on the line with us Dean Guida, who is our founder and CEO of Infragistics and Slingshot, but also the author of his Amazon's bestseller, When Grit Is Not Enough. So welcome, Dean. We're excited to hear from you and get your expert insights on building successful data-centric organizations.
Great. Thank you, Casey. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. All right. So just quick agenda items in our next hour, some of the things that we will tackle. We'll dive into some practical advice for driving organizational success with data, strategies for integrating data into collaboration within your workforce to enhance performance, understanding how workplace flexibility can contribute to better results. And then we'll also go through some actionable tips for optimizing decision-making across departments and organizations. Within our Zoom, you should also see a little Q&A button at the bottom. So as we're going through our webinar, any questions that you have that pop up, feel free to use that window. And we will answer them on the fly. And then we also have a live Q&A section at the end where we'll pick a few to go through. And then just to note, along the way of our webinar today, all of the results that you see are backed by our Digital Work Trends report, again, that we ran internally. So if we start a little bit by setting the stage, over the last 2 decades, we've definitely seen a shift of going from decision-making that has been based on your intuition or your gut to more of a data-driven approach. And this approach not only measures performance, but also monitors progress, helping organizations streamline their operations and enhance productivity. Now, Dean, this is a shift that you kind of know all too well and you've seen firsthand at Infragistics, right?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, we've used data to make decisions, but the amount of data that's available today is incredible. And so it's really gone from just a few companies using data to drive business outcomes to a lot. I mean, there's a lot of problems with making decisions that we'll talk about later, just where data is locked up and you can't find. But we've seen a tremendous shift to just fact-based decision making and adding a lot more clarity and visibility into how the business is performing and how to improve and adjust your different priorities and objectives to achieve your business goals.
Mm-hmm. And that is exactly kind of what we saw in some of our results too within our report. So our findings were pretty clear that a whopping 72% of professionals believe that their productivity depends on metrics more than independent or autonomous work. So data, it's not just about tracking anymore. It's about enabling people to really do their job effectively, which is something that you have instilled at Infragistics and Slingshot. So do you have anything you want to add on why we're seeing such a large percent of people start to rely more and more on data?
Well, I think just the proliferation of systems that even small to medium-sized businesses use. Companies that we work with have anywhere from sometimes 15 to 30 different business systems and data sources. So just the availability of tracking sales, marketing, finance has just proliferated. And so the availability of data has increased. And then there's just huge business benefit of leveraging data to really drive a whole way of making decisions with data, collaborating around what is the data telling us, how we can improve something, and so there's just been a tremendous shift in the availability and some of the processes that you can do to make better decisions.
And along to the lines of availability is as well within our findings is that 65% of workers did report that a lack of access to data significantly hampers their productivity. So this just it shows more the critical role that data plays helping employees manage their tasks and responsibilities effectively. Do you maybe have any advice for overcoming the challenge of the lack of access?
Yeah, so what happens is if you're a large company, you get these data silos in different divisions. And then across all business segments and business sizes, data is just locked up in spreadsheets, PowerPoint, locked up in business systems where people, even though they may have a login and access to it, they don't know how to get at the data. There's also a trust factor of where is the system of record and where can we trust different things we need to make decisions. So with this proliferation of data, it's actually added more complexity to execution to know where are all of our data sources.
And then using that data to then make decisions becomes the next part of that, right?
Yes.
So we do see within our report that it did highlight that more than half of the workforce is using data to make decisions, which just continues to underscore the shift that we're seeing towards the evidence-based practices. And this is a shift that it ensures decisions are timely and relevant and backed by metrics, which is something that every CEO wants to hear that an organization is executing on. So maybe do you have some best practices to keep in mind when it comes to using data for business decisions?
Yeah, I think it starts with the top down to make data available and to everybody, and then really socializing where are these data sources and what's the system of record of a customer name and address or leads or sales numbers or forecasts. So where are our systems and our data that we can really trust and go to know that we have the right data, and then you don't assume that everyone understands how to interpret data correctly. So we really believe in promoting a data literacy program where you can teach people what do outliers mean. So like, for example, if you had a $4 million quarter, but in that quarter you had a $2 million large deal, it doesn't mean that you're going to have a $4 million next quarter. And so that's like an outlier. And so when you start using averages and mediums, and you need to understand your data and how to forecast and interpret it. And so we really recommend just a data literacy program talking about correlations and what does it mean for one piece of data to affect something else and how to interpret that.
Yeah, because it's not just about looking at data, but interpreting it the right way to make these decisions that we're talking about. But so we still do though here see the bottom part of the chart that there's people out there that are still just they're trusting the loudest voice in the room, the most powerful voice, or even just still their gut. So what about from your expert point of view, how important is it to start really moving away from that and more into the data-driven approach?
Well, there's no question, like if you go into a room with some high level execs, or if you go into a room where there's a very dominant personality, um, and they start dominating how you are making decisions and setting priorities, um, if they're using data, great. If they're not, really using data kind of democratizes the conversation where maybe an entry-level person or someone of a can talk about a point of view using real data of what's happening, getting the signals of what's happening in the business to influence and maybe change direction in what you're gonna, how you're gonna go to market and how you're interpreting that. But I will add that I'm a huge believer in data driven. It's probably the single biggest thing you can do in your business to drive growth. But still using intuition, gut is part of it, but it should not be the main part of it.
Yeah, it's about balancing between the two. Yeah. Um, Okay, yeah, I mean, I completely agree, especially as somebody that also uses data daily, as you know, based on all the dashboards that I've made for our department and company. But it does also, though, seem that we have a generation that is listening to this. So interestingly, Gen Z, or actually what we refer to as the data generation, shows a unique relationship with data. They're using it daily to enhance performance and make those informed decisions, which also it kind of contrasts a little bit with the older generations who might not rely on data as heavily in their day to day. What would you maybe think attributes to this, to the generation that has adapted data so much easier versus others?
Well, I'm probably one of those elders, as we like to maybe call ourselves now. And I don't, we just didn't grow up with all the technology and gadgets and things that the younger generation, the Gen Z, grew up with. Where I mean, I see 2-year-olds that know about touch screens and how to operate that type of user interface. And so it's just natural to grow up with technology. And today there's so much conversation around data and how valuable it is, which it is. So I think when you grow up with it, it's just a natural thing that you do. And so it's great that we're seeing this kind of response to the survey with Gen Z. And but the boomers and the Gen X and Y and the millennials, no, we all need to use data.
Yeah, it's funny you met like younger kids too. My just recently had my friend's kid over and she knows how to, under 2 and is taking photos on an iPhone. And
Amazing.
it's, yeah, it really
Unbelievable.
is. But Gen Z is too, like you mentioned in the beginning, they're growing up with has more and more access to data is available to us. That is the generation that they're growing up in. But so do you still think then that there is room for boomers and Gen X to change in terms of the way that they are also then adopting data?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone now just talks about even training algorithms. I mean, we all know when we watch Netflix, and if you start scoring what you like, that then, your feed will have more shows that you like. And so,
Mhm.
even, every generation, um, can use data and derive the value of it running a business or even when you're just having leisurely time.
Yeah, even the ad algorithms, it's like my mom's amazed that she'll talk about a pair of shoes and then she sees an ad for it, but that's somebody using data to target you with their ad.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So if we do then now dive just a little bit further into some of the results from our survey, and we'll go into what truly now enhances productivity in the modern workplace. So there was an interesting pattern that starts to emerge from our findings, and it's a shift from maybe like traditional methods to what actually resonates in the workplace today. So, if we talk about first clarity in priorities, according to our digital work trends report, 42% of employees stated that having clear priorities significantly boosts their productivity, which is a substantial number. And it's indicating that when employees know exactly what's expected of them, they're able to be more focused and effective. Now, this stat in combination of everything that we've kind of just talked about with data so far um, is a very common theme throughout your book, Dean, which is OKRs. So what we're going to do is we'll take a few minutes to kind of like expand on OKRs and how they can help your organizations drive priority based on go-to-market strategy while continuously using data. So I will turn a few slides over to you, Dean.
Yeah, great. So this is coming out of my book, When Grit's Not Enough. And what I set out to do in the book was to share everything I've learned over the last 35 years running a tech company, but it's for all companies, entrepreneurs, CEOs, managers, and data is definitely a core part of it. But for me, it all starts with a strategic plan, which is like the umbrella of execution, where you define your purpose, the competitive advantage, the value that you're delivering to the market. What are your strategies to get there? And then what we do at Infragistics, we then create an annual plan that supports that 3-year time horizon of where maybe we're even like building muscle and capability we never had. So how are we shifting resources and priorities over the next couple of years where we need to get good at something? Maybe we need to acquire a company, or we need to bring in new talent. We need to relearn or learn something new. So the strategic plan is this really umbrella of execution. Then under that, we, in our annual plan, we define all these OKRs, which stands for objective and key results. And it builds, and I'm going to talk more in detail about what OKRs are, but it builds kind of on the SMART goal, but gives 3 to 5 kind of core ways to achieve that objective. And so what we do is for sales, marketing, product, we create a set of OKRs, and we do it at a high level that will achieve our commitment to our top line, what we have to do and what products we need to build. And then we push that down into the organization so that teams and divisions take that and they build their own OKRs to support these higher level go-to-market objectives. And what's great about this process is that you are setting direction and priority, but then you're allowing each team and the edges of your company, who quite frankly have different information and know a lot more than maybe upper level executives. And by them collaborating as a team to create those objectives and key actions, you're getting intrinsic buy-in and you're getting innovation, how to execute and achieve those objectives. And so the whole process of coming up with OKRs with the team to support a higher level annual plan is a great process. And I'm a big believer in like lightweight planning, spending most of our time getting work done, doing work, getting into the market. But it all starts with this umbrella of strategic direction, and then it gets into execution through the OKRs. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, so OKRs actually have been around for a really long time. Andy Grove, CEO of Intel, created them in the 1970s. And then you guys may have heard of like a famous venture capitalist, John Doerr. He brought it into Amazon, into Google. Microsoft uses it, Anheuser-Busch. A lot of people use it. But what's great about objective and key activities and key results is that it builds on the SMART goal. So you have your objectives, but then what are the 3 to 5 things you need to do? And not more than that. So like just prioritizing, what are the 3 to 5 things you need to do to achieve that objective? And all key results or key activities are not equal. And most can be measured, but sometimes you can't measure it. Like we were learning account-based marketing a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, and none of us really, we did account-based selling, but we never did account-based marketing. And so one of our key actions were just us all learning this new process of account-based marketing. And so so it's real practical, and you're giving guidance and prioritization of what you need to do to achieve that objective. And then you say, okay, if I did that key action to achieve my objective, like what does success look like? So how can I measure that? And so this OKR framework is amazing for setting priority, talking about really fact-based, KPI, goal-driven execution. And then you have all these systems and data coming in that you're measuring your progress towards these key actions to achieve your objective. And so it's quite amazing. Like the way we use it is in a cascaded approach. Now, you can have an OKR personally, if you want. You can have an OKR at a team level, or what we do is like we do this annual planning, and then one objective is a key action of an OKR above it. So we kind of cascade it down these as the teams, as we put it into the teams, it gets a little bit more granular and focus and execution to achieve our overall objective. So one key result can be objective at a higher level OKR. That's the way we use it. And it's quite effective. And you start sending out data in advance around your OKRs. And then you have these team meetings where you're kind of discussing, okay, what are some of the problems in achieving this and the go-to-market? And I'm going to talk about a process of how you can apply basically the scientific method to drive business outcomes. So here we have everyone's aligned on what our objectives are. Everyone's aligned because you kind of collaborated with the team in creating this on what are our priorities to achieve those objectives. And it also even helps in delegating, like delegating out work, because it's broken up into key activities. But let me talk a little bit about this scientific method of driving business outcomes. So, oh, and before I do that, let me give you an example of an OKR. So, let's move on. Maybe I can move, or you may not be seeing my face. I'm going to move it off here. So here's an OKR. Here's some owners. So the owners of this increasing brand awareness for our UI frameworks. We want to leverage PR and analyst relation activity. Our PR agency owns it along with some of our key executives. And so what are the key activities to drive brand awareness? Well, we need to meet with the different analysts and educate them on our value and product offering. We want to secure media coverage for our product launches, and we also want to secure some articles in some key publications. And so these are some of our activities. But how are we going to measure it? Well, we're going to measure it by 12 success stories, by Gartner recommending us in their reports, getting to the Magic Quadrant, getting 6 speaking engagements. So you're actually key results, you're quantifying and measuring what does success look like for driving brand awareness for our products. So it's a great lightweight tool to execute on and be very clear about prioritization, and set you up to be data-driven and to measure the execution so that you can make adjustments as things don't go right, as they unfortunately normally don't. I mean, once you hit the market. So next, I want to talk about the scientific method to drive business outcomes. In the tech world, we call it growth hacking, but it's been around for a long time. I mean, scientists use this. So as you start getting your signals of if something's not going right in your key actions, they're just signals. They tell you what's going on in your business. They don't normally tell you why. And so what you do is you get together with your team and you start asking a lot of why questions. Why is that happening? Why aren't we getting better leads? Why aren't we closing more business? Why? And then you start hypothesizing with your team. Okay, what kind of experiments can we run to drive a better metric and a better in our OKRs? And so then all experiments aren't equal, but you define an experiment very, very specific about learning. So you define, what does success look like? What do we want to learn? Because all experiments are valuable, whether they were successful. Okay, great. Keep doing it. You fixed an execution problem. You learned something. So now you learned more information and now you can try something different. Or it didn't work and you learned it. So you define these experiments with what does success look like. You document it. It's important to document the observation, document the hypothesis, document what success looks like. And then you start performing these experiments, collecting data, learning, And so you do this whole flywheel of here's your OKRs, your objectives, your key results, data's coming in, you're not hitting the metrics that you thought. And then you use this experimentation to improve business performance. And it's amazing. I mean, it's a flywheel. It really drives learning and problem solving throughout the organization. And it also creates agility because you're constantly going into the market and testing and trying, getting that feedback. And it's the fastest way to grow the top line. So really great process. So here's an example. Actually, this is one of our examples. We have a product called Reveal, which is a really amazing dashboarding embedded analytics solution that we sell to other software companies, other business tools, SaaS companies. And so like within a day, you can have analytics dashboarding right in your product. And but we were noticing, our sales team kept saying, oh, there's a segment of the market that can't afford our pricing. They're a startup, or they're early stage company. And so we didn't want to change our price because we need to hit a certain top line and support our own expense structure. But there was this opportunity, and we observed this kept happening. So we decided to perform an experiment. Okay, let's go and learn. Let's see if we can have some ramp up, scaled up pricing. Year 1, less. Year 2, a little more. Year 3, so that these early stage and startup companies could afford our tech. And so we did it in a small experiment to see if we wouldn't impact our average selling price of the way we actually have our business plan. And it worked. And so we're able to, one, kind of go through the exercise of defining the, what's the profile to have this different type of pricing, and how do we roll it out to our global sales force with the decision criteria not to impact our core business pricing and how we're going to market. And so these small experiments let you test ideas out, you hypothesize with the team, and and you learn, and then it's just a great way to run your business and achieve the growth that you want. And so data, collaboration, scientific method, experimentation, OKR is a potent combination to become like this learning, agile, data-driven organization.
Yeah. And somebody too that uses, as again, OKRs, and you mentioned like the cascading method that we use. It's amazing because you can, like you said, get super granular, and as granular as you get is very specific to somebody's role and work and daily kind of like responsibilities, that it helps them also see what they're doing to affect the top of the line.
Yep.
It's everybody very clear alignment and focus on why what you're doing really matters, and helps you prioritize, which is kind of like what we just mentioned, right? Setting clear priorities. It helps you really like focus on, these are the top things I need to do to drive our business growth, like you just said. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all,
awesome.
yeah.
Case is a big shepherd of this process for us.
I really am. But one last kind of point, I think that it ties back into some of the OKRs that we did find in our survey, is that only 19% of employees believe that more frequent check-ins from their manager or team would help contribute to their productivity, which tells us that the constant oversight or the micromanaging is not as beneficial as maybe we once thought. And I think that, kind of like we're saying, the use of OKRs helps with this even more, don't you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, people just want to know, what does success look like? What's expected of me? Some people want to be very prescriptive and how to do their job to achieve the objective, which is fine. You learn that. But others want to just want to achieve the objective. And OKRs also gives some agility in where they can innovate and achieve it a different way, which is awesome. And so, yeah, no one likes informed meetings. No one wants to hear someone read out data. And so, yeah, OKRs helps this, sending data out in advance on your OKRs so that when you have meetings, you're actually collaborating around why and what, here's what's happening and how can we improve that, and trying to solve problems. And it's a lot more fun to, to run a business that way.
Yeah. And too, like I even remember a few years ago when I started doing more and more presenting, and you constantly asking me the why has definitely helped me in forming like my data-centric kind of like mindset. And then like you're saying, working to establish that too throughout our organization, just continuing with the why, so that when you're presenting, it's the insights instead of just like reading off numbers, kind of like you just said. um all right. Well, I mean, we will to get to a little bit of a Q&A, but I did want to kind of like tie a little bit of this together before the Q&A session, and kind of summarize a little bit how Slingshot really helps organizations achieve everything that we've kind of just discussed today. So you will also see some poll questions that pop up on the screen, and I would encourage you guys to take a few minutes to answer those as I kind of give you a quick introduction to Slingshot. But Slingshot is basically your solution for data-driven work management. So we hear the word work management a lot in the market, but the missing piece that's really needed to drive decisions and work and priority that we've been talking about is the data piece. And nobody's kind of really tied that all together like we're doing here. So Slingshot, it stands out as the data-driven work management platform. And basically, it's placing data insights at the heart and the center of collaboration and project execution. So you can see on the left here some of those key benefits. So data-driven insights is utilizing powerful data analytics for actionable insights and strategic decisions, like we've kind of talked about throughout the webinar today. But integrating data analytics with project management and collaboration into one app is where Slingshot kind of takes it to the next level. So you're able to go from analyzing and interpreting data to collaborating with your team, right into taking action within a single place intuitively, is how we're able to move from that gut-based decisions into the data-driven decision-making and make those data-driven decisions faster. So by combining all of these things together, your data-driven insights, your seamless collaboration, you're accelerating project timelines while achieving better business outcomes for those projects. So before we go into the Q&A, we do also want to offer everybody here on the line today a free data consultation with us. So I invite, my email's right up here. I invite everybody that is interested in really transforming their organization into that agile learning powerhouse that Dean was mentioning, to schedule a 30-minute consultation with us. You have the email here. I'll also be following up after the webinar with a direct link to for you to sign up for one. And we'll also we'll give you a free copy of Dean's book as well throughout our consultation. And you'll learn more information as well about our data analytics services offering, which basically what we do is we help organizations consolidate all of their data into a single database, create dashboards for your organization to utilize, and it comes with features that are included, such as advanced AI and conversational analytics, so that you're able to ask questions and get answers from your data using AI, which is super powerful. Okay, so let's do a little bit of Q&A. Anybody that I see submissions through the window, and we did, it looks like, get through most of them. So I'm just gonna pick out a couple, but as well, any that come in after this, we will be sure to follow up with any that we might have missed. But let's pick out a few here for Dean. So Dean, how do you think data literacy impacts an organization's culture? And then maybe with that, let's include what are maybe some steps leaders can take to improve the data literacy also.
Yeah, I mean, you can't assume that people know how to interpret data correctly. So it's important that you have a program that we talked about earlier, just talking about averages and means and correlation and causation and these outliers, which is a big deal for in forecasting, interpreting time series data. And so a data literacy program is really important. I mean, and then also socializing where are the data sources and what systems are we using to track the different important metrics in our business. It's really many times not known, and a lot of times people don't know how to get to it. We solved some of these problems in Slingshot, so a lot of my book was like the thesis. We've been practicing this OKRs and scientific method of driving business outcomes for a long time, and so we modeled Slingshot to do that, and we created a data catalog that's a business catalog, so that you can easily, business people can search and discover and see what's certified. I can trust it and see data from across many business systems, and we see a lot of our customers, pre-Slingshot customers, that some people spend days and to prepare a spreadsheet to make decisions, because they have to pull data from all these different systems to create the KPI or the metric. And so we're solving all this in Slingshot. And as Casey talked about, it's amazing too. Like we're all racing to add AI. But what we're doing that's really cool is that we're doing private training on a model on your business data across all your systems. It's your data, your privacy. It's not given to anyone else. And we train it on your lingo, your metrics, how you talk about it. And then you can just have a conversation and ask, like, what sales campaigns worked in the last quarter, and get beautiful visualizations and answers. So it's just a natural way to communicate. But then you have this pre-trained models that can then answer any question you have, and accurately. No hallucinations, no drifting, none of that. Just answer it accurately. And so talk about getting rid of data silos, talking about people not knowing where data is. When you start to just have a natural conversation and get answers about your business, it's like an amazing experience. And yeah, all the security's built in, so if someone doesn't have access to something, they won't get answers. But these are some of the things that, like, problems that we're trying to solve in the market with Slingshot.
Yeah, I know even before our data catalog, because one of the awesome features too is the metadata that you can add to fields. So you're basically taking fields within your database, and you're naming them and giving definitions to business users, right? So they know how to use them. But the number of questions that I would get before that on, like, what field am I supposed to use for when I want to look at the closed date for new seats, or I want to see, like, whatever it was, nobody would know how to go into our database and intuitively probably be able to figure out what field to use. So now it's amazing and really helps with that data literacy piece, that you're able to set more metadata, put things into business terms for
Yeah,
everybody to
it's huge,
understand.
huge.
Um, You did also mention AI again, and I see one in here. So for you specifically, it looks like how has the role of the CEO evolved with the introduction of advanced data analytics and AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the next level of usability, the next level of getting people to make fact-based decisions, the next level of driving this learning organization and getting people to make decisions with data. And what happens a lot is like either the smartest person or the exact big problems, they kind of push it up there. And really you want to create a problem-solving learning organization. So by employing these OKRs, the scientific method, you're teaching people how to solve the problems. And then where AI and technology comes in is that you make the user experience just really easy and simple so that it's frictionless in the whole flow of of solving problems, running a business, working through, the plan didn't work and now we're trying to figure out why. So what we're doing is we're making this we're training AI on your business data, making it conversational. And so the role is, you as the leader, is really just continually making it easier to drive a problem solving learning organization, use data. And yeah, and then we all get growth, and then everyone's happy, people can get raises, and life's good.
Mhm. All right, let's pick out two more. Um, let's see, can you elaborate on how Slingshot's the um, integrating all of the data sources together helps organizations overcome the challenges of data management?
Yeah, a lot of these questions are kind of like dovetailing in together, but we spend so much money on business systems and SaaS systems. It's crazy, but unless you're, and we're using them, but I can tell you we're also not using them, because unless people are taking the data out of those systems, the exhaustive great data out of those systems, and using that to understand what's going on in the market to improve sales, marketing, customer support, customer experience, you're not really executing at the level of where you want to be. And so it really is, you just can't have a financial system. You just can't have Google Analytics. You can't just have HubSpot. You just can't have Salesforce. You just can't have name your ABM system. You just can't have all these just systems working in silos. You need to pull it all together and make it easily accessible to your teams so that they can do this flywheel of insight, not hitting our OKRs. What is the data saying? What is it telling us? What are the signals? Okay, let's experiment on some hypothesis to improve that. And so that's our point of view of and some of our thesis around Slingshot to drive this this data-driven learning and experimenting organization.
Mm-hmm. And I think this next one also kind of dovetails into how you ended that one a little bit. But how does Slingshot's decision-making process compare to other tools? Like this one mentions ClickUp, but just like project management tools in general, maybe.
Yeah, so what we see is like Tableau, Power BI, all these BI tools, they've gotten so feature rich, so complex, only data analysts can use them. Then you have them creating these reports and dashboards, but they're siloed. And then you have like ClickUp or Asana or Monday that they're very focused on project management. They're very focused on projects and tasks. But that's only half of the, like, just ensuring people are doing what they say based on projects is really not, it's just work. What you want is you want to collaborate on insight of really what's happening. What does the data say that's happening in your business? And so that's how we're different. We're data-driven work management. You start with like, well, why is my project behind? Or why is this outcome of this project not working the way, achieving my OKRs, my objectives. And so it's critical in making those informed decisions and understanding. To the whole thing is to grow. You do projects to win in the market, take care of customers, and so it's an expanded view of how you can run a really run a high performing company with data, work back plans. Those are your projects, collaboration to get insight, keep asking why questions, and then just keep iterating and being agile to take care of customers and win business.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Dean. We really appreciate you joining us today and sharing such insightful perspective and guiding us through the impact of data really on your organization. I am also going to pop up here. So I did mention our consultation, but for anybody who does want to get started today, either reading Dean's book, there's a QR code here, or getting also right into Slingshot, there's also a QR code for that as well. And as I mentioned, we will be following up. I'll just super quick pop back just so if anybody wants to grab my email again one last time, do reach out to me directly, and we can get you also started on a consultation for your data-driven organization. But I do want to thank everybody here for joining us today. Thank you again, Dean. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the next webinar again.
Yeah, and thank you, Casey, and thank you for everyone attending. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.